Politicians lie largely because A, people are not paying attention, or B, if they are paying attention, they have not done the really, really hard thinking of understanding the economics behind an issue. It's a whole lot easier to tell a nice, simple story like, let's help poor people by raising the minimum wage, and and then everybody will see how great we are.
Can an honest politician actually succeed? And my personal conclusion is no.
Deception involves two parts. The first is you're creating a false belief in somebody else, getting them to believe something that you know is not true. And the second is you have to intend to do that.
Deception comes in many forms. The most common form is people just leaving stuff out. I don't want to tell you certain elements of what happened last night, but I tell you everything else.
Because it might be that politicians have a reason for deception.
Politicians lie because government has a bunch of liars. Besides, a lot of politicians I've known over the years don't even know they're lying. They've been influenced by what they accept as conventional wisdom. Well, this is what politicians do. They have to sort of fudge a little bit. They need to spin a little bit. A little demagoguery doesn't hurt anything. And our job is to take care of the people. And sometimes, the people can't handle the truth. So I think they put that together and they rationalize it. They don't, they would never think they're a bunch of liars. Even if they say that, we bend the Constitution a little bit, but they don't consider taking the oath and not even paying attention as a lie and breaking an oath. They just totally ignore it because the people don't seem to hold them accountable. One broad principle that we should think about, and that is, what is government based on? Government's based on aggression, and that is the use of force. And so the government doesn't want to tell the people that everything they do is aggression. They have to conceal what they're actually doing by telling a lie and misleading people and say, we're really good people. These aren't lies and this is not aggression. And then after a while, after these lies are told, there's more need for aggression, because they have to maintain the lies. So it's a pyramid scheme in the building of violence coming from our government. And all we have...
The big lie. But what is a noble lie? Now, is a noble lie a good lie? Maybe it isn't. Actually, the noble lie is something that we would have to have a debate on, but let's talk about it, because Ron Paul discussed this actually in a floor speech in Congress when he discussed the philosophy of what is known as neoconservatism. Now listen to this and try and digest this with me if you can. The noble lie is a political concept originated by Plato in the Republic. Put simply, it's the idea that if the cultivation of nobility of the soul is the purpose of the state, then it is in fact laudable to lie to people too dumb to understand the necessity of virtue. Put even more simply, it means that false propaganda for sake of public welfare is totally acceptable. It is the big lie's older uncle. Historically, the concept was used by people who do not believe in tenets of a certain religion, but use them to rally their followers. More recently, it has been adopted and utilized by a number of neoconservatives due partially to the influence of Leo Strauss, a scholar of Plato who seriously believed in telling noble lies. Now, politicians must always be tempted by this, to tell the noble lie. People in power must always be tempted. I mean, people who have wives are tempted to, does my butt look big in this dress? Maybe you might feel tempted to tell the noble lie, but again, that leads to a grander question there. But in terms of public policy, what does it mean? Well, ask yourself this. One of my favorite authors, a guy by the name of Tom Woods, had a great quote, and it's absolutely true, and it's one that I definitely need to learn from. I can still stand to apply. If you're going to tell people the truth, you'd better make them laugh, or else they'll kill you. You know why? Because people prefer sweet lies. They love hearing lies. People will tell you that they want to hear the truth, but they still will ask you if their butt looks big in the dress. That's the problem, is that, again, we all, in some ways, tend to love the sweet little lie. And
a strong tendency to accept what we hear. It's because the idea of deception just usually doesn't cross our minds. The silly example I use is the two cavemen, right, who are out in prehistoric times. And a third caveman yells, "Saber-tooth tiger." One immediately runs, right? The other looks around and goes, "I wonder if that's true or not." So Which one passes on their genes?
Trust is the default. Even though we have a lot of concerns about deception and trustworthiness, day to day, conversation to conversation, we really do trust one another.
But the catch is, unless you have a reason not to. So in political communication, it's interesting because it might be that politicians have a reason for deception.